guys, my perfect dancing unicorn fairy angel babies. Welcome back to AG University Podcast. It is I, the lead dancing unicorn. That is our mascot here at AG University, School of the Cosmos, School of Intuition, and your professor, your host at Anna Grace Newell on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and at AG University Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. We're kind of everywhere now. We're posting on YouTube Shorts, Reels, all of the places. It has been so... I feel like it's just so good to be back, you guys. It's been a minute since we stepped away from the podcast, but as you guys know, this podcast is an energetic exchange. It is an intuition activation. So just coming to class every single day is meant to activate your intuition. And with all things energy, I show up on this microphone where the energy flows and really where I'm directed by my own intuition, by the Akashic Records. I'm an Akashic Records practitioner. If you are not familiar with that, the Akashic Records is simply a fancy way of saying tapping into your soul's purpose or your life script. Also, people love to call them angel readings. There's so many different ways, but I really feel that I am just delivering messages from our higher self as a collective. I create a collective container on this podcast, and it's really just a loving, guiding message from your higher self. The only information that exists in the Akashic Records is love. So no matter what you believe, religious, spiritual, respectfully, I always tell people, I don't care. We're speaking the universal language of love, and that's the language I'm speaking. So if you believe in a loving power on this planet, then perfect. I'm so happy you're here. So this podcast is an energetic exchange in the sense of, your intuition is invited into play in the space with me. I really feel that's my gift, is helping people connect with their intuitive voice, their intuitive knowing, especially women. I'm so happy for everybody that's here, no matter who you are or how you show up in the world. I am so happy to create this safe space for your intuition, your intuitive knowing to play and to be curious. And I feel every single time you come to class, that's just signaling to your intuition, hey, I'm making space for you in my life. And that's a huge part of the process. If you're just trying to be more in tune, that's all you need to do, because it takes two to tango, and your intuition's like, yay, oh my gosh, they're making space for me. Hooray. So it's a beautiful dance. This whole life is a beautiful dance. And I really go where the energy flows for this podcast. I've told you guys this time before that I do not monetize this show. And it is by choice. We have been approached by networks. We've been approached by advertisers. We have lots of listeners all around the world. But as of right now, and who knows, maybe 6 months, a year from now, I could be signed with a network and have advertisers and it makes sense. The reason I don't is because there are a lot of posting requirements that have to happen. There is, just a lot more demands that need to be met. And this is a space for me to channel my own ancient wisdom, my Akashic Record, the AG University Podcast Akashic Record. And I don't like to put those types of restraints, or I'm not restraints, I guess restraints, but I guess just having to sometimes force energy to appear on the mic when maybe it's just not there, because we took a winter break, which I didn't know how long it was going to be. I stepped away, and that's always what I teach. Winter is a time for rest. And so I had to follow my own teaching. And even I was getting a little squirrely. I was like, okay, I'm ready to get back on the mic, ready to get back on the mic, ready to get back on the mic. And this is a perfect example of how I follow my intuition. I follow my body. I follow the energy as it flows. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. I just got back from a wedding in Colombia and it was wild. I'm going to tell you guys about it, but if I'm sounding a little raspy, just my voice she's a little bit gone, but it was in a really fun way. So I'll get to that. But perfect example of how I am on my own divine timeline. And as you are on your own divine timeline for this show coming back, last week I showed up a week before I had received guidance. I was like, I really want to get ahead. I want to get back on the mic. I want to get my podcast out, all the things. And I had received guidance not to come back on the show via my higher self, my intuition, until March. And I was like, gosh, that's really far away. Oh no. I want to be, all the things that we tell ourselves, right? The clock's ticking. We got to get back, always in a rush. And I've really been in such a slower pace of life. January and February, especially, was so at peace, so at content. It was bizarre. I almost I did feel like I didn't have much to say in a really beautiful way, because I was extremely hyper present. And that's something that I've been working on for years to get there. It's a practice every single day of being present, of going slow and being intentional, right? Doesn't mean we have to quit all the things that we're doing, but just really, really, really being present and not forcing things. So last week, I thought I'm going to get one episode before I go to Columbia. I'm going to get ahead and get producer Courtney some content to start working with, get the team ready, I got hair and makeup. I did all of my practice, my rituals. You guys know I always have some form of ritual before I get on the mic. Sometimes it's swimming in the ocean. I always want my energy to be extremely clear and my vessel to be clear before I record. I'm extremely intentional with this information in this podcast. And so it's a whole thing. I do my whole thing. I get on the mic and I mic check 100 times because there's been an episode before where the audio mysteriously glitched and just there was no audio. So I run test after test because I've been away. I'm a little rusty getting everything set up, getting my space set up. I do all the things. And my laptop was on 50% when I hit record, which is typically enough juice to get me through an episode. I hit record. All of a sudden, 15 minutes in, my computer is on like 1%, maybe like 20 minutes in, but still my computer is about to die. I'm like, shoot. So I pause it. I go get my charger. Computer will not charge, will not take a charge. It's actively dying. I'm like, shoot, this stinks. I was already halfway through the episode. I wanted to get it out. I end up making an appointment at Apple because I'm thinking something's wrong with my port. Won't charge, drive, by the way, over an hour to Apple, take Austin and Zane with me on this journey. We wait over an hour, get my laptop. They look at it and they're like, oh, nothing's wrong with it. It's charging just fine. I'm like, you're kidding me. Austin and I tried every cable, every outlet in the house. We tried everything, would not charge. And the computer's not very old. It's only like 3 years old. So strange. Then I come home and the 25 minutes that I had recorded, no audio. After I ran a million tests, I know you're gonna be like, oh, that just sounds like some technical difficulties. I can't explain to you how unexplained these technological issues were. And that's how I always know that when I'm meant to show up and record, it just magically flows. And when I am not, it does not work. The technology won't work. Something is glitching. It's unexplained. And then today I show up and my computer's charging and the microphone is working. So alas, that's how this show goes. It's a cosmic wave. We're all just riding. So that's really my life. I am just along for the ride. So I am so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be in your ear holes. And I'm so honored that you guys tune in with me. Every Wednesday, we're here. I'm doing a lot of solo episodes. I've been feeling less called to interviews in this time of my life. So there's going to be lots of solos and lots of channeled messages from our higher self, from Akashic Records, whatever you want to call it, light information, ancient wisdom, love, all of the things. It's all one God. Everything is, coming from the same place for me. So I actually went to the beach yesterday and I've been in a really I don't even know what to say. Interesting place. January, I was so extremely content with where I was in my life. And I want to say that that's before all of the things. January was a month where I didn't have much going on. I don't know. I was just kind of present, really, really present. And that's a practice. I didn't feel the need to create out of a false sense of urgency. That's something that I think we can all relate to. Is like, oh, we've just got to keep moving forward, got to keep advancing. We're all rushing through life. And I was really like, no, I don't feel the need to do anything, which for me, a hyperactive, overproductive go-getter doer was very liberating. And that's another reason why just stepping away from the podcast was so healing for me, because, I'm having my own human experience. I stepped away from a lot of work collectively sort of towards the end of January, a little bit of February. And February for me has always intuitively been a month of elimination. So really working on cleansing the body. I used to be super anti-cleanse. I thought that was some like weird fad diet, toxic culture stuff. But ever since I learned a lot about my liver and how I was having some liver, maybe deficiencies, or some of the functions of my liver weren't weren't as high functioning as they possibly could. And the liver is so important. And I did not know that until I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. If you guys are new here, I holistically reversed my autoimmune, and that's, I would say, maybe episodes 79, 80. That's kind of happening there, 81, if you want to check that out. And I'm going to do some more information on somatic work and all the things that I've done to just continue to regulate my nervous system, because that's what I believe is the root of literally everything in our life. Every ailment, every problem, every situation is nervous system regulation, which is always the foundation for this podcast. So everything we talk about is meant to be somewhat connected to nervous system regulation, because I feel like it's connected to everything. Anyways, so February is the month that I was called to elimination. And that for me looks like I did a parasite cleanse, actually, which I have the company that I did the parasite cleanse with. They have the owner and founder. She's going to come on the show at some point to speak to it, because that's not an area of my specialty. So I can't give you guys all the information, but it's simply put, we live in a parasitic world. It's nothing to be afraid of. If you have a pulse, you have a parasite. We have good parasites, bad parasites, just like we have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our body. It just is what it is. But anytime I'm doing a lot of travel, international travel, or just eating foreign foods, or, I always like to do a cleanse once a year. That's just something I personally do. I've done a lot of stool tests and testing for me to gain this knowledge. So you can always, find a functional medicine doctor or someone to do these tests for you if you're interested. But I did a parasite cleanse, which is really eliminating a lot of sugars. And then it's some herbal tinctures that just help cleanse any, just lingering little thingies. I don't even know, little parasitic bacteria, objects, creatures. I don't know, whatever you want to call them, that live in our gut, because our gut is, it's our second brain. And I really have a lot of respect for the gut, the body. And I think parasite cleansing is something everyone should do at some point in their life. Maybe you don't feel called to it now, but it's just a really great way to lower the sugar intake, because we're creating this little sugary oasis for feeding, things in our body that maybe aren't supporting our highest good. There's also a lot of our happy chemicals, serotonin, or is it serotonin, dopamine? All of those are deeply connected to the gut as well. So I didn't want anything else eating those happy hormones. I want to be happy. I want to feel good. And I do, feel so light and bright after I do any type of a sugar, just sort of, I say detox in the sense of just really focusing on whole foods. It's usually a month-long process. And that's something that I've just had to learn going through my own health management and being the most optimal version of me. But another book that I read that I wanted to share with you guys too, that was really life-changing for me. And I wish I had known when I was struggling with autoimmune, really anything that acne, and anything that's going on in your life, especially as a female. There was a book called Fast Like a Girl. And I just love it. Can't get enough of it. I've been doing some fasting protocols, and it's been super, super helpful and transformative for me, because I really do believe that we live in a world where we are just inundated with so much food noise. We can Uber Eats things. There's commercials. There are all these things trying to play into our senses. Like, we need to eat all this food. We need all this food all the time, and da 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 da. And sometimes our bodies just need a little break, a little reset. And I remember intermittent fasting got really popular during the pandemic. Maybe that was just my own personal algorithm. I don't know. And then there was this huge movement where it's like, actually, women don't need to fast because, we have different stuff going on with our hormones versus men. And so then I totally dropped the fasting thing. And then I had several people in my life recommend this book to me, Fast Like a Girl. It's going to be in my Amazon storefront. That's called AG's Book Club, and it'll be linked in the show notes. And essentially, the book shows you different ways you can fast based off of exactly where you're at in your cycle. So there are times when women are extremely supported for fasting. And then there are times when we absolutely should not fast. And this also really plays into cycle syncing with food and meals, which I fully have always, it's just been super intuitive information to me, like that you need a little bit more food before your cycle day one starts, or before your period starts. And then once your period starts, and especially in follicular, which is the week after the period, you actually need the least amount of food. That's when fasting is a little bit more supported. And fasting is not about eating less. It's about giving your body a break. So windows of which you eat. So I would do a fast, basically not eating until 11 a.m., sometimes 1 p.m., and then stop eating by like 6 or 7 p.m. So really interesting on the elimination piece of allowing the body to become lighter and brighter. And I just wanted to share that book with you guys. I'll probably talk a little bit more about fasting, but it's another thing too of that I've been studying a lot as my time away from the microphone. You guys know I'm a forever student of this planet as well. And I've read so many books, but I've been really interested in sexual energy and also feminine energy, and the sense of we all have both feminine and masculine energy in our bodies. It's just what are we trying to balance in our life? Because I think there is a balance between those two energies for every human being, no matter how you identify sexually. It's not really about that. It's more of how do we allow flow into our life? And then what's our kind of get up and go juice? That's like our feminine and masculine energies, and flow and relinquishing control. That is a feminine quality. And that's something that's really hard for a lot of people to relinquish control. The universe has to pry it out of our little hands sometimes. So, the feminine energy piece though, for me has always been a mind, body, spirit tango. And, the following the flow of my cycle just feels so, I feel so intuitive. I feel so aligned. I feel like my cycle is, my cycle is perfectly aligned with the full moon, which I've heard naturally happens the more that you tune into your cycle. If it's not right now, don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong. But it does make sense that there's kind of this universal flow with the moon and our cycle that happens because, as female, we reflect the moon energy. And then the masculine energy, men, they mirror the sun. So the sun has a 24-hour clock, which a male has a 24-hour hormone clock, where the female, we have a 28-day hormonal cycle where we're going through so many shifts and changes. And so I'm always trying to support my body the best that I can. February is a time of elimination, and I'm really glad now looking back. That's why I did not have the guidance, or I guess energetic support. The universe was like, no, ma'am. The universe was like, no, ma'am, you are not going to be recording during this time, because anytime I do a bit of a detox, a sugar cleanse, I'm just kind of cleaning things up, I always have such an emotional release. I feel like I cried so much in the month of February, and not sad tears. They were oftentimes really sentimental tears, really nostalgic tears. Austin took me out to dinner for Valentine's Day, and I cried because I saw a little girl on a date with her dad for Valentine's Day, and she was dressed up in an outfit, and it was just so cute and wholesome. And I cried almost our whole dinner because I don't know, I've been having this very nostalgic feeling for my younger self. Like, I don't know how to say it, but I miss her kind of. Like, she was so magical and playful and whimsical. Was that a word? Did I say that? Whimsical? And she believed in fairies and magic and all of the things that I have gotten back to. But I'm sad that so much of my life, I lost that spark and that connection with magic. And I would write song lyrics, and I just believed I could do and be anything, truly, from a young age. I really, really always knew I can do anything. I can do anything. I believed in myself so much so that I feel that people were triggered by it and would tell me to believe in myself less. And just like all things, I love to perform. I love to be on stage. I love to be seen. And then, you go through just being a part of society and the world, and all of that light sort of got dimmed. I've definitely worked to find my way back, but for many years of my life, I was separated from that ideology of just like, I'm a magical fairy. So, I miss her. And a fun practice that I've been doing is listening to songs that I used to love to listen to when I was younger. Like, I don't know if you ever had dance parties in your room or with a sibling, or maybe you just remember a song you really liked. I've been listening to that music because music is such a portal. Music can recall memories, bring things back to the forefront that we've totally forgotten. And that was a really fun space to play in, of just connecting with my most intuitive version of self. That's really what I believe. As a child, I was highly, highly intuitive. And that made me, shocker, different than other people. And maybe you felt that way too. School was always a struggle for me. I've always had, ADHD diagnoses, learning disabilities, all types of things that I felt I struggled with. But now looking back, I'm like, I think it was just a different bird, highly sensitive creature. So anyways, a couple of things that I was doing, eliminating the body while I was gone. And any of this stuff that you guys want to hear more on, I'm happy to elaborate, expand, but I just want to get you up to date because I do feel that I have done an identity shift, a bit of a glow up, which I feel just now starts to take shape. I think everybody hears 2025, new year, new me. Let's go. And I am all about reinventing yourself every year. Absolutely. But if you haven't found your footing yet, that's totally okay, because I really feel everything starts to take shape when the plants are blooming and everything else is coming into life. And most of the time at the beginning of the new year, I don't even know what I want. Who do I want to be, And if you're just now discovering or thinking about who do I want to be this year, you are right on time. You are perfectly on time. And this is so I had a couple of things. I have a couple of different higher self messages. I was about to say higher self, maybe both. But yesterday I just got home from Colombia. What a wild, colorful, vivacious trip that was. It was so expansive and beautiful. We were in Cartagena for a wedding. I have a really good friend of Austin's, fellow football guy. He's not a sports girly. He's a scout or an agent, and Austin knows him through coaching. And then his wife is Colombian. So anyways, it was really such a beautiful time to be immersed in another culture and different music. And there was so much dancing and outfits and lots of singing. We were screaming, singing. We went on a boat day. You guys, I'm not kidding. We danced from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I felt like I was in a high intensity interval training class for like 10 hours on a boat. I was like, these guys don't stop dancing. This big Colombian family, they were just so bright, so vivacious, just dance, dance, dance. Oh my gosh, I just loved them. Anyways, so I got home yesterday and I just sat on the beach with myself for about an hour and a half, just connected back into my space, to my home. And I channeled this message that I'm going to read for you guys first, went into my Akashic Records, my higher self. And then we're going to kind of elaborate a little bit in the glow up piece, the identity shift that I've been experiencing. And I think that everyone is about to start experiencing, because there is this unearthing that's been going on in the last few weeks. And maybe you feel that things around you might feel a little rocky, a little shaky. Maybe you've had uncomfortable exchanges or confrontation, things in your life that are falling away. And I want you to know that is so good. I am so happy. Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable in order for change to take place. I always say this life is like a video game. Just before you advance to the next level, things get really hard. They're throwing all the Ninja Turtles, swords, fruits, little things at you. At the end, it gets really fast and you're ducking and dodging and jumping. And I'm not a video gamer, as you can tell. I'm just making this up. But then you move on to the next level. Like, I passed. I was able to feel this, it gets hard, it gets tricky, it gets uncomfortable. And then we advance to this next level. So just know there is an unearthing going around, not like that, going on. How about that for the collective? And if you're feeling uncomfortable, I had some uncomfortable experiences too. Nothing that I couldn't handle, but just like, even the elimination and the parasite cleanse and all the things that I did, just brought up so many emotions in myself that maybe I just didn't want to look at, didn't want to sit with. I love to be busy and not look at my innards. And I think everybody can relate to that. If you are constantly busy, what are you running from? Because there's something that you don't feel comfortable sitting with. And that's typically why our nervous system just gets stuck in this dysregulatory state. So first message that I channeled, and then we'll go into the identity shift. So I wrote, this message I channeled on Wednesday, the 19th of March. So today I'm recording, it's March 20th. I keep everything in pretty real time. So this may be just now happening in your life by the time you hear this message, or maybe it's coming upon you. There is a season of growth upon you. You feel as though you cannot see it, but you know that is not true, for you feel it, for you are already mourning this version of you. This version of you, past versions of you, these feelings, they are so much long overdue. You were always meant to shed these versions of you. And yes, it is sad from this point of view. But as we see you, like your higher self, your angel team, as we see you, it is liberation. It is liberating. It is allowing you to soar high into the sky, allowing your highest self to integrate into this new timeline. There is nothing you need to do, except allow this wave of information to wash over you. Allow space for this identity to take shape. Allow space for this progression to unravel. This is where I saw a vision that I'm going to explain to you guys, like a ball of yarn falling down a flight of stairs. This unraveling has already started. So just allow it to fall. You don't need to catch it. That's when we try to create resistance. You don't need to catch it. You don't need to catch the ball. Just allow it to fall, unraveling a new story, a new narrative. All of these people, places, and things, it's meant to wash away, fall away. It falls away, rebuilds, falls away, rebuilds. It's the cycle of life, and you are true to you. You stay true to you. I loved that vision, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, of this ball of yarn that's just dropping, that's falling, that's unraveling, because that's what's happening right now around you. There is this unveiling of this new identity, this new version of you that's happening. This happens every spring, but this spring in particular, there is an expansive growth that's happening. And so what you're experiencing just before is the contractions of life, and this piece about mourning these versions of us. Sometimes we get so comfortable being this version of ourselves because it's familiar, that even though we're unhappy, we'd rather be comfortable than to feel the discomfort of, oh, how could it feel to be more happy or joyful or regulated? We just get really damn comfortable. So I'm here to invite in those uncomfortable experiences as something to be celebrated. This whole entire phase of time of your life is meant to be celebrated, because there is a version of you who is going to be so much stronger and expanded and brighter and bolder on the other side. And that's why sometimes we often will feel sad. Like I really did. I had this long meditation with myself, and oftentimes when I meditate for so long, I'll start to cry, and it's not really a sad cry. It's more of just this release or something my nervous system, it almost feels like it's bringing me into this state of regulation. I'm just releasing maybe some old emotions. I don't know. I don't have to know. I don't need to give everything an explanation or a label. And that's something I invite you to do, is to just be this ball of yarn that is allowing everything to unfold. We try to catch this ball or try to stop it from unraveling by just fighting this change or being sad, or no, we don't know what's on the other side, so we don't want to go there because it's scary. And it's like, no, that's what you've been praying for. That's what you've been manifesting. So you've got to just allow the ball to drop, to unravel. This new version of you is coming through. And even if it feels hard or sad or scary or confusing, there are so many people that say, I don't know. And I'm here to tell you right now in your ears, very, very tune in. You know, your higher self read the whole script. This is your grand stage appearance. This is your moment. Your higher self, she knows the way. Your intuition, God, love, Jesus, don't care what you believe. They all know. They all know the way. And so even when you feel lost, that's okay. You're meant to feel those feelings, because then when you have clarity, you know what clarity feels like. It's all perfect. But allow yourself, yes, you can be sad and you can mourn these old versions of yourself, but just know there is a shedding that's happening. And it feels like it is a mass shedding of our planet. People just really waking up and realizing that there is this timeline, there is this reality that they can feel more joy. They can feel expansive. They can feel all these things, and they are safe to do so. Just because they don't know what it feels like right now, it's not meant to be feared. And that's something that I will always say, that this fear that most of us create in our mind is an illusion, because we spend so much time being fearful of a timeline that may never happen. being fearful of things that will never take form, never take shape. I always encourage you guys to listen to my previous episodes about asking for signs or messages, just to bring yourself some peace of mind, because so much of the fear that you are experiencing, it's made up. It's made up, and that's okay, because we all do it. We're all human. I'm sure there's some weird ego survival mechanism that's happening, but you've just got to be able to say, you know what? I am so excited. Yes, I can mourn these versions or mourn the loss of these relationships or people in my life that may fall away. They may not. It's not meant to scare you. You may be exactly where you're meant to be. But if something happens or there's confrontation or weird, uncomfortable exchanges, just be like, that's okay. That's how it's meant to be. I'm not going to judge this person in my life. I am not better than them. I am not more spiritual than them. I am not more, all knowing than them. We are all on this little journey, and we're all just seeing different perspectives play out. That's really all it is. I have gotten so into this place of releasing all forms of judgment, because I find that the more that we judge people, the more that we're going to attract in that judgment into our life, people judging us in certain ways. And it's just all a bunch of energy bouncing off of mirrors. And again, that's not meant to say, of course, we all have judgmental things like, how could they think that? How could they say that? How could they da 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 da? And that's just another way that our ego likes to be sneaky and create resistance. And I've really gotten to a place of every situation that's playing, I'm like, what could I learn from this person? That's it. That's all. It's not like, how could they think that? That is so silly. Oh my goodness gracious. La, 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 la. And I feel that's something that's just kind of been taught to us. Maybe our mom or our parent. I think generationally we had people before us who we always like to make Southern mother jokes about how, Southern mom is always, kind of critical, or it's like a persona that's, I think people can probably relate to, or maybe anybody. Maybe you have an aunt or a grandmother or someone. And that's just behavior that's taught to us. And I really do. I was with someone recently that I was like, wow, you have so much knowledge and ancient wisdom, Chinese medicine. But this person was extremely dysregulated. It was explaining to me they were very dysregulated. They felt very fragile. And that's something I've learned. The more dysregulated you are, the easier it is for people to manipulate you, offend you, upset you. You're very fragile. It's actually, I always tell people, that's something that I learned. The more regulated I became, it was very hard to offend me, because I don't know, I'm just not easily offended. And I realized that was sort of a nervous system thing. Again, this has been a practice, and I'm not perfect. I'm sure there's some way in my life I'll be offended again. But that's just something that I've recognized. I'm like, oh, wow, I do realize there is a stronger foundation that takes hold the more regulated you are. You become less fragile to just the swaying energy of people around you. And instead of thinking, wow, that's so interesting, you have all these tools, and judging this person for, being very dysregulated or, on this emotional roller coaster. Maybe that's something a past version of me might have done, being like, wow, that's so just odd and da 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 da. But I thought, this person is maybe standing in front of me as a mirror. In what ways do I have tools that I'm not using? And what ways do I have wisdom that I'm still blind to my own faults or my own areas of dysregulation? Because that's really what's happening when people come into our wheelhouse, and our knee-jerk reaction is to judge them. We would like to judge them. I had a very interesting experience in February. We're experiencing rejection. And I was like, I really wanted to be like, what the fuck? Like, that's your knee-jerk reaction. Like, why? Because it was a thing where I was invited into a space and then kicked out of the space. Not literally, just energetically. And you really want to judge that person, thinking, what a whiplash experience that I was just thrown into. But I thought, no. And I went into the Akashic Records, and they're like, can you see how you are all one? Can you see how you are all connected? And that's something that I really want to invite you in. The next time you go to judge someone, listen, we all have that taught judgment voice in us. It's a practice. It's a playground. But invite yourself to think, instead of judging, What am I meant to learn from this person? What could I learn from this person? And in what way have I ever been there? Because oftentimes we're judgmental because it's something about ourselves that we don't want to accept, or we don't want to believe that's true, or something about ourselves that we've criticized. And that's really been something I've been playing with, is this judgment, self-judgment, or even just hearing judgment of other people or other people judging me. I'm like, you know what? I'm sure there's been a time where I've judged someone in that similar manner. I don't know. It's just a really fun place to play because it's taking away a lot of resistance, because so much of the resistance comes from judgment or self-doubt. And I just want to remind you guys that every personal interaction that you have is meant to be a playground for you. The more that you can see it as this playground and you're playing in different perspectives, like, oh, this is fun. Okay, this person is, some type of, I don't know, whatever type of person they are, really, really grumpy and really whatever. Like, let me play in that energy for a second and think, has there ever been a time where I've been this way? Like, it's all data, it's all information. And the more that we can take the charge away from it, the more that we can observe and allow this, what I just kind of read to you guys, this wave of information to, take shape, and for us to understand that this is all just a giant playground and there's different perspectives and different timelines all happening. And it's just a big movie. It's a big performance that we're all playing. And so the more that you can step back and take this emotional charge out of certain situations, the more you can actually grow from them, because you're not on the defense. Like, if someone were to come for me or say something or whatever, I used to be like, that's not what I meant. That's not da. And I've really gotten to a place of being like, no, I'm not going to justify myself. I'm not going to justify myself. I'm not going to explain myself. I am who I am. It is what it is. Next. And that's where I always, always, always want you guys to be unbothered queens, because I really feel that's a divine feminine energy, that queen archetype of, I'm not going to get down and heckle with people and try to convince them and try to judge them and try to da. No, I'm going to rise above. I'm going to look through this lens of love and allow the judgments to fall away. And I think that's a big part of what this unearthing is, coming back to the unearthings. It's false judgments. It's false judgments of yourself. It's false judgments of people around you. You've got to understand they have created these very, polarizing beliefs or controversial beliefs, because at the end of the day, there's a little boy or a little girl that lives inside of them and they feel safe clinging to these narratives. So who am I to condemn them, judge them, say they are right, say they are wrong? No, I'm not God. It just is. I mean, yes, we all have God inside of us, but I am not the final end all be all. I'm not here to tell them they're right, they're wrong, this or that. Right and wrong doesn't even exist. It's just neutral. It just all is what it is. If you agree with someone, of course you're going to think they're right. If you disagree, of course you're going to think they're wrong, but that's not true. You're all just wearing a different lens. And so much of that goes back to this habit piece and kind of this glow up of what I've been really just allowing all of these judgments to fall away, all of these people in my life, that even when I have these uncomfortable conversations or just situations, scenarios that come up where, in business, being a business owner and managing people, period, is tricky. You're always operating from a place of no one's really going to care about your business as much as you are. And you've got to make tough decisions sometimes, tough decisions for your family, tough decisions for your children, tough decisions for yourself. And it might upset someone or offend them and whatever. And that's kind of where I'm saying this uncomfortability may come in, because it's easy for us to judge other people. And that's kind of where this identity shift came in also for me, is releasing the judgments on everything, because there is an identity or narrative shift. And this is an example that came to me that I always like to share food examples or gym examples. I just feel like food body is a very physical representation of just trying on a new lens. So when I was really struggling, I have a whole episode. That's how I healed my relationship with my body and food. I think it's like in the 40s. You guys can check it out. But I struggled with getting off of Adderall and Vyvanse because it suppressed my appetite, and then it led to disordered eating behaviors and just a real battle with my body. And then I got away from that and started just intuitive eating, giving all of that a break, stepping away from all of the obsessive thoughts around body and food. I needed to take a break, go to intuitive eating. And then I became, in tune with my body and just an intuitive eater. And then I always thought this is the example I'm giving you guys. I always thought, oh, tracking is bad. Tracking is bad. I don't want to track calories. It's toxic, da, da, da. Well, that's because it was toxic for me because I had disordered, behaviors and beliefs, and I'm sure taught and learned behaviors. So I was like, oh, that's toxic. No, 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 no. Well, then fast forward, this is how that the universe is always mirroring back to us that everything is neutral. Everything just is. Fast forward to last year when I was doing my liver detox, I was encouraged certain diets to reduce inflammatory foods and to get my protein up. And the only way I could really do that was to track protein. And it just got me loosely tracking because in this scenario, I was fighting for my health. I was trying everything I could to get my body the nutrients that it needed in order to heal. And you see there, that's one perfect example where people love to be like, oh, tracking, it's toxic, it's bad, it's this, it's that. And then, oh, well, then all of a sudden I'm tracking to track how much health and nutrition that I can get into my body because that's what my body needs in order to function. And it really gave me this shift of like, oh, wow, that's just the lens that I was carrying at the time because that was my experience. My experience was that it was toxic when it's really not. You can have such a healthy relationship with your body and be thinking, okay, I want to make sure I'm eating enough, right? I can track saying, I want to make sure my body is fueled. I want to make sure my body has enough of the good stuff that it needs in order to function properly. And this is just a very small situation that I want you guys to apply. It can be applicable to anything in your life of we will judge something because we've maybe had a particular experience around it. But then when you flip the script and look at it through a completely different lens, there's always another way to look at it. There's always another perspective. There is always something on the other side that you're like, oh, this actually could be really healing and healthy and something that I needed. Am I still an intuitive eater? Yes. But I have implemented more of like, okay, I want to make sure I'm getting enough of these vitamins, minerals, proteins, things that I need in order for my body to function properly, right? So I found a really good balance between understanding all of it and just seeing food as a medicinal practice and also a place of pleasure. It's meant to be enjoyed. So that's just kind of the evolution of perspective, right? You can think someone like, how could they think that this is toxic, but then you look on the other side and someone could have a completely different experience than you. And so that's where I'm always trying to drop the ego, which we all have, drop the lens of judgment, because ultimately when we're judging other people, there is a part of us that's also judging ourselves. And that's the next thing. I've really been passionate about talking about changing our habits and being more consistent. So after I went through this elimination process, the elimination was a mind, body, spirit. I was also dropping the narratives, dropping the stories, dropping the judgments, dropping the things that I've been telling myself. So many thoughts and things that are happening inside of our mind every single day are a habit loop. You are not broken. There is not a spirit taunting you with these thoughts. There's no one there. It's a habit loop. It's just a habit loop that is empowering because you can change it. Our brain is extremely malleable, and I want you to know that you can easily make changes. All of your habits honestly make up a big part of your personal reality, which it is your personality. Personality is your personal reality. Those are habits. Those are thoughts. And so I always tell people, like, what are just some stories you're telling yourself, right? A perfect example of story is like, oh, I don't ever want to track or look at things. Same with even you can track your finances in a really positive way that's not scarcity or abundance. You can have a budget that's in a line with abundance versus scarcity and shaming yourself. Can't do this, don't want to do that, don't want to spend this, living in fear. You can track your finances from a place of abundance. There are so many ways to flip the narrative and the script, but you've got to be honest with yourself and sit down maybe for a day and think, what are most of the thoughts that I'm having? What do I think about when I'm eating food? Am I in a hurry? Am I rushing out the door? Am I thinking, how can I nourish my body? What am I thinking when I look at myself in the mirror? Am I complimenting myself? Am I shaming myself? Am I just thinking nothing? Neutral thoughts, that's fine too. Neutrality is a great place to start when you don't even know where to start. If positivity feels too fake and forced, that's great. Neutral is always better than nothing. But like, where am I just telling myself stories of in the gym, oh, I don't have time, or oh, I'm too tired, or oh, I'm too this or that, or, whatever. What's the story? Because a lot of it is just a habit and that's it. And it's easy to change and you can do it. But getting so honest with yourself, that's also the elimination piece in terms of mind, body, spirit. I do a physical detox when I feel called to it. I do a mind detox, and then I tap in with, my spiritual practices that I love. But I always like to stay really rooted in just the presence of being a human. I try not to get too lost in the semantics of spirituality because I've done that in the past. I think we can all probably relate. We've been trying to assign meaning to something that maybe there is no meaning. Maybe it's just a habit loop that we've created and it's being mirrored into our reality and we can change it. And that's something that I learned in the Akashic Records is how important discipline and consistency and all those things are in taking really good care of our vessel. Because at the end of the day, movement and all of these things are really, really vital to keeping our spirit just aligned with the highest version of ourselves, right? So I decided, I think it was in February, I started listening to Atomic Habits again, and I really love that book. I will read that book over and over again because I feel at different phases in my life, I receive the information differently. It's by James Clear, I believe, and it's also going to be linked in the show notes, AG's Book Club. You can click the link and lots of my books that I've read. I just kind of picked that book up and thought, I'm going to make a change to some of my habits because sometimes we don't realize how many things in our life are habit loops. Our brain is always looking to conserve energy. And so we just loop things, even the way we think about other people, think about ourselves. One of my biggest things that I'm loving to tell people right now is like, if you wouldn't say it to the person you love the most in the world, why would you say it to yourself? And that's in terms of, body shaming. Are you going to eat that piece of cake, Grandma, who I love so much? Would you ever say that to your sweet, poor grandma? No, you wouldn't say that to grandma. You say, Grandma, I love you so much. Do whatever you want. You're perfect and beautiful. And that's how I want you talking to yourself. If you wouldn't say it to the person that you love the most of the whole entire world, why the hell would you say it to yourself in the mirror? Let's just start there. But that's the whole point of these cleaning up all these habit loops and thoughts that are just ruminating in the mind. So be so honest with yourself. Step one, write it down. What are the things that I think about the most? What is something that I know that I should be doing and I'm putting it off? What is something that I really, really, really know? And there's a lot of resistance. Where is there a lot of resistance coming up in my life? And if you're someone that's like, oh, nope, got my movement routine down, got all my stuff down. Okay. Well, what are some things that were just, how are our relationships playing out? What are just some of these habit loops popping up? Just do a little housekeeping, just a little mental note taking, just look around. What's going on? What are we saying? How are we feeling? What's maybe an emotion we're feeling most consistently? Frustration, anger, sadness, grief, all these things. It's not meant to bypass, but it's just meant to be like, at what point am I just rehearsing the narrative? Right? There is one part of feeling the feelings, moving through them, doing somatic work, doing breath work, allowing them to come up and allowing them to arise and to transmute them into light or information or whatever. And then at what point are we just rehearsing? Meaning we're just calling people to vent, to talk, to repeat the narrative and ingrain that story into our life. Because I'm guilty of it too. I love to call my sister and complain every once in a while. Okay. That's what my sister and I are for. We are each other's catch all, but it's one thing to talk about it, get it off your chest and then move on. It's another thing to talk about it in therapy for 2 years. Okay. Like at some point you've got to integrate and move on. So that's where this whole spring cleaning is really being called, through me for you guys is to look at all the places where you can clean up a bit mentally, be a little kinder to ourselves, be more compassionate, be gentle. And also being gentle and less judgmental with those around you. Everyone is doing their best and you do not know where they have come from. You do not know their upbringing. You do not know what their parents were like. You just don't know. And even if you do know, I'm not making excuses for them, but you don't have to have them in your life. You don't have to, surround yourself with a horrible person, but you're not going to spend a lot of your mental energy judging them and shaming them inside your brain. That's the difference. So that's the one part that I was going through my own mental housekeeping and cleanup, which was really just reframing all of my perspectives, things that I used to think like, oh no, I'd never do that, or da 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 da. And being like, you know what? Hell yeah, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Nothing's right. Nothing's wrong. It just is. The law of neutrality is something that I feel extremely strong about. A book is a book until you read it. Then it's a good book or it's a bad book. Could be a great book to someone else. Could be a terrible book to someone else. That's the planet that we live in. And we are not meant to agree on everything. We are not meant to understand everyone. People are going to misunderstand you. And it's the sacred contract that has been created when you came into this world. They were meant to misunderstand you. So the next time somebody really judges you or doesn't understand you, you think that's okay. They were meant to have that experience. They were meant to misunderstand me. I don't care. I'm not here to convince them. I will never convince anybody to believe what I believe, to come into the Akashic Records, ever. Ever, ever, ever. If you are here for a reason. We are an energetic match. You are here for something big. You are a superstar. Okay. I'm never here to recruit people into this work. If it feels good for you, again, hell yeah. If not, I am not going to sell you anything. Period. And that's kind of how I just want everybody to be, in that feminine energy of that queendom. This is our little kingdom, our little life, and we're just going to be present and allow our little ball of yarn to unravel and unfold. But yes, I did a mental housekeeping. I looked at areas of my life where I really needed some consistency. I fully believe in consistency for a slew of reasons. I think I'm going to make next week's episode just a deep dive on consistency and habit loops, because you can work them. You can reverse engineer all of this different ways. You can look at your subconscious mind and do subconscious limiting belief work, EFT tapping, all of the things, and change the limiting beliefs, which then in turn change your habits. Or for people who don't have that type of vocabulary, you can just change your habits, and then the limiting beliefs in the subconscious mind will also shift. You see what I mean? You can work it from either end. So sometimes for me, I just need a little bit of consistency in habits. And when I was listening to Atomic Habits, he shared one example. I'm very, I'm a physical touch girly. I love to touch. I love to hug. I love physical, tangible action items. And this was a really good one. He said there was a salesman, this is from Atomic Habits, who wanted to become the best top salesman. And so what he did every single day, I guess he had a jar of pins. I can't remember if it was like safety pins, bobby pins. I don't know. Little pins, had 100 pins in a jar, and would move them one pin at a time into an empty jar for every sales call he made. So that encouraged him to make, the most sales call. And then of course he very quickly became the top salesperson. I loved this tangible representation of, a marble or something, putting something in a jar every time you complete a task. I don't know. It just spoke to me. I've really been in an era of consistency. One, there is I can't tell you guys what it is yet because it's just too soon, but there is a physical form of which AG University is going to be taking shape. It's another reason that now, looking back in hindsight, it's why podcast was a little bit on break, because there's something new and big that's coming, and I'm really excited for it, but it is calling me out. My energy, my body, everything. I need to be in extremely good shape in order to be able to hold this space, essentially. And so after I listened to Atomic Habits, I made 4 habits that I do every single day. I highly encourage you to pick 3 or 4 and not more than that. It's just start small. Everybody, little tiny bites, the path of least resistance. Let's just start with a tangible place. Don't start with a 90-minute gym split. Let's start with like 15 minutes of movement every day. Let's just be real, create the habit. And then it gets easier because you're already showing up every single day, and then you can, expand from there. But I had 4 habits that I created every single day. One of them also was my physical therapy for my shoulder. Just getting my body extremely fine tuned, because I am a somatic channel. Movement is something that I work with people through. And so that's something that my body needs to be fine tuned to that frequency, right? So I can't be having, my shoulder dislodge or dislocate or things happening. I need to be extremely strong, and I need to have a strong foundation in order to hold a strong foundation in a safe place for other people, right? Makes perfect sense. And so much of our inside world, our internal world, and our body, the stronger our foundation is, the more regulated our nervous system is. There's just so many ways that this plays out in our external reality, right? Everything is a mirror. And so I created 4 habits. They were pretty simple. One of them was just getting outside first thing in the morning, getting sunlight. I go on an Akashic Records walk, which is where I just connect with my intuition. no headphones, no listening to anything. Sometimes I'll take my tea with me, just go on a walk and just allow my intuitive voice to come through, right? Making space for my intuition. If you want to be more intuitive, make space for that intuitive voice. So, it's not constantly listening to podcasts and audiobooks, which I love an audiobook, but just having some moments where our ears are open to listen and to receive. So I went on my little intuitive walk. That was one of my habits. It was a 15-minute thing. I had 4 different habits throughout the course of the day, starting from morning to evening. And every time I completed a task, I would move. I had a little seashell or a little crystal that I would drop into this jar. And at the end of the day, it was so satisfying to have my jar completed with these little tasks. This is a very small, silly example, but it was very powerful in keeping me consistent because there was something very rewarding about checking this task off my to-do list, dropping my little objects into the little jar. It felt, just kind of satisfying. And anyways, this is just a little small example of the consistency that is calling your name. Your body actually craves consistency because it helps regulate the nervous system. If every experience we're having every single day is new, it's not that like we're in fight or flight necessarily. It's just our body does crave consistency a bit in movement and ways we show up in meditation because it likes knowing what's coming. Sometimes we're kind of like a baby. We like to know there is a snack coming later or a nap. Because those are very, very regulatory activities, very regulatory behaviors, keeping that nervous system regulated. And I communicate to my body all day long. I'm like, girl, we're going to wake up. We're going to drink our water. We're going to get some sunshine. We're going to go on our walk. I am listening to you. We are safe. I just create these routines of consistency because it creates more safety in my body because my body knows what to expect. And that's not to get lost in the, not even maybe lost, but maybe you don't have to have a death grip on your routines, right? It's just to have a pattern. We are rhythmic creatures, right? Our heart beats at a certain pattern, we breathe at a certain pattern. It's just our body kind of falls into natural little cycles, right? And we can change them and shift them a bit by creating healthy habits to support. So this first calling for you is, what is a habit that I really need in my life? What is something that I've really been avoiding that I need to do? Where can consistency support me? And like I said, try that little activity that I gave you. Give yourself a couple tasks and drop I have a little crystal, a little seashell, a little rock that I drop into a jar. And at the end of the day, I complete all my tasks and I've moved all of my little items over. It's very simple, free. This is something you don't have to get a crazy habit tracker, buy a journal, do all the things. I think that's great if you want to do that. But so much of what we can do right now is checking the things that are consistently looping, right? Just be aware and don't judge yourself for having those thoughts. We all have some wacky doodle dandy thoughts. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not just, a crazy person. You're fine. But just have some awareness. What are the thoughts just swimming around in my head? What is this false sense of fear that I'm creating? Something that I'm worried about that may never happen. That's all a fearful illusion, and it's okay. And I forgive myself and I love myself, and let's move on and let's start thinking these thoughts. Let's start looking for this. Let's start looking for things that we love in our life. And then that's kind of how we're changing that script in our mind, going into next part 2 of creating consistent habits that are supporting some of these healthier behaviors and thought loops. That's what I did. I feel like I have been the most consistent that I've ever been with some of my healthier habits. And I've just kind of dropped the act of, mentally rehearsing something that's not serving me, period. And then setting up healthier habits to support these new thoughts. So once you start thinking, okay, these are the thoughts that I want to think, what are the actions that I should take? They go hand in hand. You can think, but there's only so much thinking you can really do. Sometimes you do need to take a little action. Can be gentle and be compassionate with yourself. I'm not telling you to throw yourself into training for an Ironman. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. I actually don't want it to be. I want it to be quite simple. Simple ways that you can take an action step towards supporting healthier thought loops and healthier behaviors that are ultimately going to make your personality and personal reality more regulated. This is easy and this is simple, and you can do this. Okay. So journal with yourself after this episode. I really want you guys to do it tonight while it's still fresh. You can re-listen, take notes, all of the things. and start creating ways to support this version of you, this highest self version of you, the version of you who's living in alignment, the version of you who's living their dream life, all of the things. It's easy, but create a plan. Create a plan, create some action steps, make it simple, make it realistic. I believe in you. You can do this. You are moving through this unearthing with ease, with grace. Be compassionate for yourself. There is no need to judge yourself. Your story is different than everyone else's story. It's yours. It's unique. And you're going to come out so much stronger and wiser and just more compassionate overall. And I love you so much. And I'm so happy you're here. This is such a good start back into the new year. You know, you guys know I love to do a life audit. I have some previous episodes. If you want to search, I think it's called End of Year Review. This is a perfect time to do it. I know it's March, but still, we're just now, the new year is just now getting started. We are in no hurry. Your timeline is perfect. Okay. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for coming to class, and I'll see you next week. All right. Bye. Mwah. As always, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you feel so called or if it feels aligned, I would love for you to leave me a review here. I always love reading your beautiful thoughts and messages. And also you can find me at Anna Grace Newell on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I will link all of my courses, AG University course curriculum in the show notes, along with if you're interested in booking an Akashic Records reading with me. My scheduling link goes out in my newsletter. It goes out once a month and it's completely free. I would love to have you there. As always, I'm a proud professor and you get an A+ for making it all the way through the end. Love you.